7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Howdy, CROC Nation. Dr. Tom Iannelli here with another amazing CROC podcast. Is it an amazing podcast because of me? Absolutely not. Is it an amazing podcast because of Angel? Maybe, but why it is so amazing is because of you, our cancer survivor thrivers. We live for you. We breathe for you. Everything we do is to try to make your journey that much easier, to get you through each minute, each second, each hour, each day. Joining me as always on the other side of the computer, the professor, Angel Santana. Have faith, let it begin. Angel, my dear friend, what a podcast or series of podcasts we have coming up with such an incredible hero, fellow physician, fellow radiation oncologist. Feel like I'm 14 years old and I'm going to my freshman dance.
I know the feeling. I can tell right now that you have been energized. We have been ready. This has been something we've been waiting in the wings for it. But you know what? They say it, the best way you can say it is this way. You know, God has its own moments. He's got his own times. He doesn't make his mistakes. He has put this particular guest right now at the right time, at the right place for a reason. So I'm ready to strap on my seatbelts. We're ready to take the CROC Nation airline and let's take it to the next level.
Awesome. Well, this airline is going to be first class all the way for the next couple of weeks. It is my true honor and privilege to introduce our guest, Dr. Sophia Edwards Bennett. What a person, what a human being, oh my God, stellar comes to mind. This woman is accomplished. She is smart. She has devoted her life to her patients. And I would say a bit proud that she happens to be a radiation oncologist. You don't see a lot of oncology leaders coming from radiation oncology. So it is such a delight to introduce her. To introduce her properly would take about 2 hours to truly get into the detail of what she has accomplished in her young life. But let me say the following. She is an award-winning physician and she is a healer. She is a podcaster. She is a best-selling author. She is an international speaker, consultant. She is a cancer ambassador. She is an entrepreneur, and she fights every day, tooth and nail, to the death for our cancer survivor thrivers. The amount of awards and the amount of recognition she has received justifiably for her work is just too numerous to even go near. But when I look at things such as Top Doc and Doctor of the Year, Best Doctor in America, Lifetime Achievement Awards, Leading Physicians of the World, again, that only scratches the surface. She has had the privilege of studying her craft at some of the top institutions in the world, from Harvard to Yale to Georgia State to Memorial Sloan Kettering, and it goes on and on and on and on. And I said to her before we started the podcast, when I do my due diligence and I do my research, what I try to do is get to know our guest beforehand, and I got the unbelievable opportunity to get to know her over the phone and spend several conversations with her. And when I say there are two things that define her in my mind. Number one is her humility and her ability to recognize that everything she has accomplished, she does not take any personal credit for at all. She and I both believe, and I know Angel is on the same page, that everything that comes from us, whether it's something good or something that is going to be good, is really, that door is only opened by our Lord and by our Creator. And I can't say anything more to introduce this friend than I did. Sophia, Dr. EB, welcome to the CROC podcast.
Thank you so much for that magnanimous introduction. I am indeed humbled and honored, Tom. And again, it is my pleasure and honor to meet you both. And thank you so much for having me. I am overwhelmed. I am overwhelmed with the fact that he has ordained our meeting even prior to this podcast, and he has ordained this day so that we can discuss one of the most compelling topics, one of the most compelling subjects in our field, and certainly one of the most important of paramount importance in our field, and that is how we address our patients, specifically our cancer patients, but it can be applied to patients in general, and it is important to do so. So I honor you for leading the charge and disseminating this information to our community, to our physicians, to the healthcare sector in general, so that we can change the trajectory, so that our patients can be treated as whole patients holistically, and so that we can treat not just the body, but also treat the soul and the spirit as a triune, as a trinity, as a tripod of the human being. We need to address all. So thank you again for having me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. And Angela and I were just remarking before we started that there's so much ground to cover that I would love to break this up for our CROC Nation into several different podcasts addressing each aspect of Sophia, Dr. Eb's illustrious journey toward helping our survivor thrivers. Sophia, I'm going to ask you 4 questions. That's it. And you are going to take this podcast and you're going to hoist the Jolly Roger of Jamaica. Put up the black, red, and green flag, and you're going to go with it. So I think the first question I'd like to ask you is just how you became you. I did some digging, and I am so absorbed and so admiring your I would say your initiation to life was very difficult. You had a mom who was chronically ill, who passed when you were very, very young, in a Caribbean island, and how that influenced you, and then how that sort of then brought you to America to study under some of the smartest minds in cancer and some of the best institutions. So let's start with that question.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. E. So that's a loaded question, but it is, I think it's imperative to delve into the details, because it really colors how I practice medicine. I should say that Romans 8:28 holds true here, and that is all good things. All things work together for the good of them who love the Lord and are called unto his purpose. And it's not some, it's all. It's all. And so I say this as a preface, because when you mentioned that my initiation to this life was rather difficult, that is true. Now, my foundation was laid by my mother, who was a strong believer. It wasn't just about religion, it was about relationship. And she really practiced what she preached. She walked the walk and talked the talk, okay? And there were many there were many obstacles, there were many challenges. It wasn't just about her illness. There were financial challenges as well. She was a teacher, but there were some domestic. I don't know if you had a chance to read my book. It sounds like you did, because you know a lot about my background, and that the book really delves into that, the path to soul immunity. But she faced all those challenges with grace, and observing her progress through life and dying at such a young age, the age of 38. It seemed like a lifetime because of all the challenges she had to face, and still hold her ground, stand her ground in him, in faith, in grace, in courage, in strength. And I observed it, but I didn't necessarily appreciate all the complexities, everything that exuded from her, that was transferred to me and my brothers as well, until later. When you have those experiences, right, you're going through life, and really what you're observing, it appears to be this movie that's just passing by too quickly, that you cannot process, right? So you need time to really process what you've been through, what it all means, extract what is meant for you to then take with you as a package, as gifts, as the charge through life. And again, as the scripture says, it works together for the good. So, but it's not as simple as that, because we need to be able to extract what's good, unveil the challenges, and then extract the lessons that will then propel us to the next level. And so that is really the process that I needed to perfect, right? I needed to analyze what God, what message, what lesson was he teaching me. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy by any stretch of the imagination. But what I realized through it all was there was a common thread the entire time. And that was, he is faithful. He is faithful. Because no matter how dark it seemed, no matter how impossible it seemed to poise ourselves through each difficult juncture. My mom being sick in the hospital while I was in high school. My brothers we were all in high school, actually. I was in primary school in Jamaica, in the Caribbean. The system is a little different, but also in Jamaica, not only is the educational system different, but the healthcare system, and so it's third world, right? And so the treatment for lupus at the time was just steroids, right? So you can imagine there was not much progress, and she was just declining. And so there were years and years of hospitalization, 8 years in and out, and she was such a trooper, and that's clearly an understatement. But through it all, he somehow was able to carry us, and I do mean carry us, right? He held us up in his arms many times, as you know, that the expression goes, the footprints in the sand, you could not see ours because we were being carried. Okay, and that's grace beyond measure. And so at each juncture, when we thought of giving up, when we thought there was no more life ahead, there couldn't possibly be any light at the end of that tunnel, there was always something, a flicker of hope that he gave unto us to live another day, and I think that's something that if I did not have that experience, then I would not be able to transfer that to my patients. And so what I realized is that he was grooming me, he was priming me for what he knew, he was going to use me for, then that is in the field of medicine, in particular cancer care. But I didn't know it at the time, because what we as Christians don't, and we as people don't realize many times, is that he has ordered our steps, but the thing is, he lives in eternity, but everything happens with us in time, right? And so what is evident to him is not evident to us. So when we're walking, we're taking one step at a time, not knowing what to expect. And each moment and each juncture may seem as if it is not either the morning will never come, right? Or it seems out of step, but it really is in step with what he has ordained. So when she was passing, she conveyed to us this vision, because as you can imagine, right, my mom was dying. My brothers were 5 and 7 years older than and they still are, obviously, because they're always 5 exactly.
Yeah.
And my let's just say that my mom was really our stability, and let's just leave it at that. But she was also scared. She had really strong faith. I believe she was given the gift of faith, right? And it was still remarkable, though, because she decided that she needed something, not just for her to be at peace with passing and leaving us, knowing that there was nowhere for us to go, nowhere to turn, the uncertainty of it all, the desperation of it all, right? And so she needed that encouragement from him, right? But she also knew that we needed something to hold on to, and nothing, not anything tangible, something, a seed needed to be planted so that in her absence it would grow as we grew. And so she asked God for anything, just show her something. She needs to leave us with a message. And so he showed her a vision of what our lives would be. And I kid you not, what she told us about the vision that he gave her, firstly, we didn't believe it, because there's no way, I mean, given the dire circumstances, that could even be possible. But he showed her my brothers being successful, in business, and of course, she saw that I would be in the medical field. I'm not quite sure why she thought that at the time. Now, mind you, my experience with her in and out of the hospital, I was being primed as well, because I saw many examples of physicians taking really good care of her, not only addressing her needs, but also ensuring that we were coping well. And I think that left an indelible impression on my mind. But the vision that she saw, it was so clear. Of course, it was not, we did not believe it, but she told my brothers, she said, listen, I need Sophia to enter University of the West Indies, which at the time was the only university in Jamaica. And uh, and so because it was the only university, it was very difficult to matriculate. I think 1% of the population or 1% of the applicants, I don't recall, but there was only one university. And she charged my brother, she said, if she could matriculate, find a way to ensure that she enters university, and then God will take care of the rest. And that's exactly what they did. So they sacrificed their education. So they basically were 5 and I was 13. So they obtained jobs, and they were responsible for taking care of me, and I obtained a scholarship, etc. And then the rest is history. But I say this to say that without a vision, the people perish. And so a vision was important for me, was important for us, because without that, without clinging to that one vision that gave us hope, that was the light that we needed in those dark times. Because even though it wasn't believable at the time, we needed something, right? And as time progressed and we saw that he worked through every obstacle, every hurdle, we were able to overcome. It became more believable. When we realized that it was within reach, then our faith grew. As Paul said to Timothy, stir up the gifts, right? And so that was stirred up within us. You could tell that it was percolating, and it was a manifesting in our very lives. And it was a beauty. It was a beauty to behold. And that's not it could take me all day. That is not the only charge. That's not the only experience that gave me this level of conviction that cannot be, it just cannot be challenged. Even after my mom died, I met in a car accident where I survived, and 3 of my cousins died. And I'm not quite sure how I survived, but it gave me even more impetus to think more about how his guidance, how his protection, how his power really is beyond anything that this life can introduce, right? Because you see, when you progress through life and you're going through all of these challenges, and as you overcome, and something as menacing as death, as defining, as final as death, right? And somehow he's able to protect you through that. Then you begin to realize that there is a calling, that there is a power greater than me, working through me, working around me, that I cannot deny, that I really don't have anything to do with. It is not me. It is clearly not me. And so I came to the conclusion, you asked about my core, why I am who I am. I came to the conclusion from all of those experiences that I am not my own. I'm just not. I'm not my own. I'm not here on my own. And I am not here for myself. I am not here because of me. I am only here because he created me to be here for such a time as this, to do what he sent me to do. And there is nothing that I can do without it being in the center of his will. And so that is really what keeps me grounded and focused, because as I say, I was speaking to Dr. Andre Chipta yesterday about a project. And it's interesting because I mentioned to him that, to be honest with you, Dr. E, I do not have the luxury, with all that I've been through, with what he has shown me about who he is, right? And how he has carried me. I don't have the luxury. I do not have the option to be anything else but surrendered. I don't.
Wow, that is so beautiful, Sophia, and it gives all of us, Angel and all the survivor thrivers, such a great, I guess, would you say, just a great perspective of how you became you. And with your permission, I would like to honor your mom on this podcast. Can you tell me her name?
So her name is Sattery Edwards, but she was called Thelma. Sattery is spelled Satarie. And actually, I named my first daughter after her. So yes, thank you for asking. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll tell you, she did. I was going to say, she is what really lit the fire. She was your spark, and again, we honor her and
thank you.
What she did, her sacrifice for you. And then the other thing I wanted to say, before we push into the next question, is your charisma is indescribable. When I listen to you talk, I go into a different world. You remind me of an orator, one of my favorite orators, Dr. King, and your level of charisma is just is another gift of all the gifts you have. That's another one, is your charisma. So now you're in the universe. That you're welcome.
All right, everyone, and we are pausing right there on part 1. Don't worry, part 2 will be right around the corner next week. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to seeing the conclusion. Here's a sneak peek of what's coming up next week.
You're in the University of the West Indies. You're distinguishing yourself intellectually and academically. Your faith, I'm assured, continues to grow logarithmically. And now you have an opportunity to study here on a bigger stage. Tell us a little bit about that transition.
Trust and believe you don't want to miss this answer. The CROC Podcast returns next week. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave us some feedback. We can't wait to hear what you think of this amazing series. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.